it doesn't feel overwhelming. And I think the reason being is perspective and understanding. I understand that 60,000 songs a day get uploaded to Spotify. So if I don't feel like a song has enough plays as it should, which that's a made up metric that doesn't make sense, I
agree.
But like, I can't fully blame one thing. And I just also I have faith in the process, and I have faith in allowing things to take their time and take shape as they do. And I think that the wins along, if you're really here and you're about it, you're showing up every day, show up every day to the thing you believe and love for 10 years, and you will be blown away by the outcome.
Welcome to the Paint Method Podcast. Welcome back to those of you who have been on this journey with us here. If you're new here, welcome to you. And I can't wait to introduce you to today's guest. And I just want to, thank you all for your patience as well as you've, new to this journey. We started the Paint Method Podcast to really help people discover where they are on their journey, and then also giving tools to what you do to create what comes next. And we're learning from people like today, like our guests, to some other, moments that I've been through in life. And so if you're enjoying these podcasts, if you're watching this on YouTube, we just ask that you consider subscribing. And if you're listening to this on any audio platform, we just ask that you hit the follow button to follow for future episodes. And then one quick announcement before we get into today's guest is I just launched a new learning platform of on-demand courses and coaching for artists. This is one of the things that have come out of this podcast is, really inspired by just wanting to help people on their creative journeys. And so the platform, paintplus.io, is full of on-demand courses from how to price your art webinars to paint to print, ebooks, and video courses. And there's some more on there. We're also going to launch a 30-day, 4-week, really interesting coaching experience for artists that I truly believe will transform your art and your brand throughout that process. So to learn more about it, visit paintplus.io. All right, let's get into today's podcast. And now this gentleman, he's a daily inspiration to me because he's an amazing follow on social media, and just beyond him sharing his daily inspirations, his music is incredible. It's emotional. It hits that emotional chord that I always look for in music, and especially for my live shows. And you're going to get to know the mind and the heart behind that sound. So let's welcome to the Paint Method Podcast, Jon Wiilde. Let's go. We are all on our paint journey. But where are we now? And where do we go next? This is how. Passion, action, intent, new, teach. This is the Paint Method. Here we go. I'm going with the yellow. So those of you that are listening right now, you can't see it. I hope you feel this. I've got my yellow theme glasses on because we are with Mr. Jon Wiilde.
Hello. I also have yellow glasses on.
I'm assuming that's just your name. Like, I'm not even.
I might have added an I. Who knows?
I'm just assuming that you were just born with that.
Let's go.
Whether you chose it or not, it's like you just embody that.
Totally. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Have you always just embraced your creative side?
Yeah, I think everybody does, at least at first, right? Like, that's the beauty of kids, right? And they just don't know. It's like that quote that is, creativity is something you are, not something you do. And I think kids embody that wonderfully because they're not trying to do it. They're not like, let me build this thing. Or it's just, they're funny. They have good takes on things. It's just like you emanate love and imagination and originality because that's how they look at the world. And I think for a lot of people, unfortunately, as they get older, they start to lose that connection. But it never goes away. It's always still there. So, yeah, I think it's just about, kind of keeping that conversation going with
So you would agree,
little me.
I mean, I feel like I always tell people this. that I'm just a kid that never grew up.
Totally.
Like I never grew out of my creativity.
Yeah.
Because it is something that is instilled so young. It is such a pure process.
For sure.
You know, being able to have that spark of inspiration and then act on it.
Totally.
And because what happens as you get older is more space is created between the inspiration and the act.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know if you agree with this, but as you create more, that space just gets shorter and shorter. And then you're almost rewarded for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like the less thinking, the better, you know, where it's just being able to, you know, and I know you feel this way, like, you know, whether or not I'm sure you've showed up to the canvas before and had no idea, even if you were doing a portrait, who you were about to do. And then it just starts coming out, and then you start shaping it, and then you're like, it's this person, and it comes out great, you know. And I'm sure that, of course, happens when it's not a portrait, you know, and you're just at the canvas.
Yeah.
The same thing happens, too, when you even have a concept, right? Where it's like, you know, that's where songs become these, like, beautiful vehicles where, like, a song can take so many different shapes, you know. It's like how Bob Dylan does All Along the Watchtower, which is his song, is very different than the way Jimi Hendrix does All Along the Watchtower. But having this structure gets to be a vehicle for you to, like, really express in that moment, however it's going to be.
Yeah. So for people that are listening to this or watching this that may not know who you are or what you do, I know you as a musician, and I know you as like this amazing creative style, but how would you describe who Jon Wiilde is?
I'm a human being.
And we have plenty of time for that, but you know, I guess, yeah, how would you describe just, you know, what you create or at least, you know, where it started?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I'm a human and I'm happy to be here. But in terms of, you know, what I do, which is, I just feel like I'm here to help, and I don't exactly have that defined other than the way I feel today, how to do that is through music. I think music is the catalyst to heal people, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of times that maybe how do I say this? Maybe like the world doesn't need help like Earth, because Earth will be just fine. But human beings and society and people, I think there's a lot of people in pain, or a lot of people that just don't feel as good as they could. And I think music is a powerful mechanism in order to, like, bring people together. So I'm here for a good time and some good tunes, you know?
I think it's, you know, so I'm a fan of your TikTok. Like, I've been a fan of your music, but recently I'm like, oh, Jon Wiilde's on TikTok. Let me just follow. And then you pop up on my For You page. So obviously I'm like interacting with it. And I do have this sense that yes, you're creating music that moves people, but there is this sensibility of wanting to help people.
Yeah.
Or help them see something. I don't know what that is.
I don't know what it is either, you know? And I appreciate you saying that. And I think, that's the underlying thing too, where it's just, of course, like all creation of art is a little self-serving, right? Because you want to make shit you like, and it's fun. However, I do feel a little bit of a sense of maybe like, and hopefully this doesn't come across egotistical, of like a little bit of a grander purpose of just like, I feel like I'm here to help motherfuckers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We have to, though, because here's the thing. I think it actually becomes more egotistical if you don't have a greater purpose. If you're serving the smallest thing, which is yourself, is the biggest ego move ever.
Totally.
But then I think when you do want to serve something bigger, it's so much more outside of yourself. I had that moment when I was maybe like 25 and I was actually experiencing more success. And I just thought, like, this is crazy that I'm doing this. And now how do we shift our purpose to you not changing what we do, just why, and for something greater than us.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, having this relationship with this sense of purpose, whether or not, like, you want to call it God or the universe or whatever, I feel as if that helps the process of creating, because I don't really feel like I make anything. I just feel like it happens through me. Like the best thing I can do is be an antenna and be a vessel and allow things to happen. And like the less control I try to have over it, I think it goes better and better. And it's less about control and more about like just trusting that gut instinct of when it feels right and when it feels quote unquote finished, which is always a fun battle.
So as a creative, because I would consider you a professional creative, you're beyond hobbyist. You're making stuff and putting it out to the world at whatever level it is. And we have to be free as creators, as creatives. But how do you start realizing that all right, I need to organize some of these thoughts so that I can communicate it to the world? For example, just plug, you just dropped a single on Spotify,
Beach, streaming everywhere now.
Yes.
And sorry, also by this point, a music video will be out. I'm about to drop a music video. It's technically already dropped, and I'm going to post about it in like the next, but as soon as we're done here, I'm posting.
And by the way, he didn't know I was going to bring that up. I just listened to it this morning.
About it.
I saw it. But you know, we're like, we bring in these unfiltered ideas.
Yeah.
And then at some point, I think the difference between a hobbyist and say a professional is like, you get on that wave.
Yeah.
You have to organize these thoughts in some way so that it can then be projected out to the world.
Yeah.
And then you let the world
do
whatever they want with it. How do you find yourself in that shift where you're like, it's coming to me right now, and now is this the thing that I start organizing into a song or an idea or a finished thought?
Great question. The first and I think most important part about that is showing up every day. And maybe that's like a little bit of a weird answer, but I think it's really important to be able to just like, whether it's you show up to the canvas, you show up to a set of speakers, you show up in any capacity to moving this thing forward each day, I tend to feel like it sort of figures itself out as it goes. And the cream of ideas rises to the top. And it's like if you show up, every day to like a set of speakers, and if you wrote something a couple days ago, and for a few days you just can't get it out of your head, it's probably a good thing. You know what I mean? You're like, maybe that's the one to try to finish. And so I just let the chips kind of fall where they may. Also, what's been a big help over the last few years is I have like a few different like steno notebooks or college ruled notebooks, like the ones without a binding, doesn't matter. And I write a lot of stuff down, and that's helpful. And it's been really cool too, because I didn't draw a lot when I was growing up. It wasn't really my thing, but I'll like scribble and write things down, and there's a relationship you get with like a pen in your hand. And excuse me.
Yeah. Get it out.
That was a big one. I couldn't do that in the mic. I couldn't diss your mic like that.
No, it's okay. We'll record it and then we'll put it out as a single. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Called Beach Burps. No.
The Beach Burps, baby. So I think between showing up every day and being able to physically write stuff down, that's been huge.
Yeah. And so you just showing up, you naturally have developed this discipline, to create from your musicality, your songwriting abilities. Was there any formal training at all?
Yeah, I took lessons. I was lucky enough and blessed to take like different music lessons growing up, which was like huge. You know what I mean? So I took lessons. I took bass lessons when I was younger, and then a little later, I took drum lessons from your boy.
Oh, which boy?
Serge.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
By
the way, shout out to Serge, who is my drummer on tour for a very long time.
Yeah.
So great friend, and also he actually filled in as tour manager for a European tour.
It sounds like he could handle that.
He's a hands-on guy. Yeah,
for sure.
So you were taking lessons.
Yeah, and then I ended up taking lessons at a place called Rock Inc., which became home, and then it developed into me being an intern there because I was taking audio production and then interning, sweeping floors and stuff like that. And then I was able to assist on sessions. And then long story short, when I was about 20, I worked it out with the owner, Z-Rock, shout out Z-Rock. and we figured it out where I could take the place over, because he was doing great just producing and DJing and didn't want to run music lessons anymore. And so then I really got an education for myself by over the next 7 years, running a business, running Rock Inc. and teaching lessons. And that was, in so many ways too, I think that was probably the best training I could have had, was just like,
I feel like teaching is like a secret weapon.
Absolutely.
To progressing your own art form, because
Yeah.
then you have to explain it in a way that comes so naturally to you,
Mhm.
and then you have to explain step by step to someone from
Yeah.
the basics to this is how you embellish
Yeah.
a sound or a feeling as well.
Yeah. And teaching children especially, you get a sense of like a child's instinct, which is pretty beautiful, because it's like there's no thinking about why a child likes something. And I think it's beautiful. It's how most of us eat food.
Mhm.
It's like, if you take a bite of a burger, you're not going to be like, I don't think I like this, but let me finish it to see if by the end, like, the lettuce like sort of changes, or if I like. And sometimes we do that with movies as adults, or we do that with songs. We're like, I don't know if I'm into this. Let me get to the bridge of the song, see if I'm. But kids, usually, there's like 2 spots that I notice where a kid will like a song, which is A, the very first couple seconds, and B, as soon as the vocal comes in. And there's so many times where I would show a kid a song, and it was like 10 seconds in, I just turn around and they're like. And then there was other times where I showed a kid a song in the same time frame, and they're like, "Oh my God, I love this." And it's like, how do you love it? It's not even over, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I think understanding that human childlike instinct has helped me develop and keep mine more, because like we all have that. You know, it's just like sometimes you look at shit and you're like, this is tight. You look at something, you're like, that's awesome. You're like, and I don't need to. It can be a fun thing to explore and stare at for 20 minutes without a doubt, but also it's just nice to be like off the jump into something.
Yeah.
You know?
We're going to call that the wild burger method.
All right. I love it.
That's
WB,
it.
baby.
When you just go in and you just create. No hesitation. But so you're running this school,
Mhm.
this business.
Mhm.
Did you ever have a moment where you're like, man, I really enjoy teaching and giving these tools to students, but I need some personal creative time.
Well-
and was there a shift at all?
So it was, I'll say this, is teaching allowed me to, keep the studio running really. And so it became like after hours I was able to create. And the nice thing is, music is a loud venture a lot of the times. So being able to create it 11 p.m., midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. as loud as I want, was a huge blessing. And I didn't have to work crazy hours to keep the studio going in terms of teaching hours. So I got to spend a lot of time doing that. And then about a year ago, I made the transition to stop teaching and just focus solely on making records and building this thing out. And I have a couple guys who are like some of my best friends, and they teach there. They were teaching with me, and now it's just them teaching, and I just run the business end of things, as well as just focus on the art and making records, that's the main thing. That's the main goal. Yeah, it's been cool. So and it took a while to make that jump, but it felt right when I did it.
What do you feel like those first steps were? I guess that transition of,
Mhm.
I'm not going to call it hobbyist, but let's
Yeah.
just say someone else is in that place.
Yeah.
And to start doing what you did, which was, I'm going to start producing.
Yeah.
I'm going to start creating for clients, friends, whoever
Yeah.
that is. But how would you define those first few steps? Like, if you were to put it in order for someone, how could they pursue that?
I think it just happened. In a lot of ways, how maybe somebody might build like a side hustle into a full business. It's just in art, maybe the money's not there yet, so it's a little different. But it just became this thing where this is demanding more and more of my time and attention. And it also, my habits grew, and that was a huge thing too, where it's like, you hear stories, let's say, of like maybe it's master painters or it's incredible guitarists who are like, I play guitar for 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
If you pick up a guitar today for the first time and you try doing that, you're gonna hate it. You have to grow into an ability to have that stamina, as well as part of the reason they're doing that is because they're so good. They've developed this relationship for so long that playing for 12 hours is that fun.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, I think, with really growing any craft is like you shift the psychology of your habits on a day-to-day basis to focus more and more on this thing and to find a balance with it within your own life. And it just got to a point where it was like, I got to be doing this every day with no interruptions, as well as having the freedom to like, I was down in LA for the last 10, 11 days.
I saw that journey on your TikTok.
That was a journey.
Wild journey, yeah.
And last year I was probably going like once a month for about a week or so. And then I just haven't gone the last few months. And then, I was there for like 10, 11 days. And the trip kept getting extended.
Yeah.
I was going to be back on Thursday or something. And I came, or Wednesday. And I ended up coming back Sunday because it was like, oh, I can go to that session. Oh, I can pull up over here. Oh, I can make music. I got to pull up on that part. All these things kind of kept. My car broke down also. But I
that
figured
was the wild. There was a wild part.
That was a fun part.
But you still showed up. Here's what I love. This is why I mentioned the TikTok thing earlier, because not only your willingness to share the creative stuff, but you're like, this journey is hard, and some crazy shit comes up all the time, and then you're like, hey, this is the crazy shit that's happening right now, this moment, because it's constant. It's
funny, like it is constant, but like it in a weird way, it doesn't feel hard. The harder part to me is like not doing it. That's like for example, when my car broke down in LA, it was kind of funny. I was on my way to a session with somebody who I had not met up with yet, but they had produced very recently a lot of music for one of my favorite artists. And
who's that? The artist.
The artist is Kendrick Lamar. Okay. So they produced a lot of music with them, and it was like, cool, yeah, pull up tomorrow, da 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 da. And so then it's tomorrow, and I'm on the way there, and all these lights start flashing in my car. It's like the oil light and the fluid light, and like my car is overheating, the temperature gauge is maxed out, and all these things are flashing, and I'm still 35 minutes away.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's absolutely no way that I'm missing this. So I like pull off the freeway, I park at somewhere in LA, it's like West 104th Street, I don't know where it is. I parked there, I got an Uber, and and I was like, I'm abandoning my car here. Abandon's maybe a strong word. I'm leaving my car here on the side of the road.
It.
Yeah, I'm going to park it here in this neighborhood, and I'm going to deal with it in a few hours because there's no way I'm missing this. And so it's like, it's not in that way. I'm like, I don't feel like it's hard or difficult. It's just like, that's the mission. Like, who cares if the car breaks down? It's fine.
Yeah, and you have to get used to that because that's happening on so many different levels.
Absolutely.
Way down the journey. And it could be when you have a family at some point and like the kids are going through something, but I have a deadline. It's like the kids are going to get
totally,
the stuff. And so trying to just balance life. I mean, it's almost like you have to get used to the pressure.
Yeah.
And you have to learn how to increase your capacity of pressure. If not, it's very easy to get discouraged and broken down at some point in your journey.
Yeah. And I feel like, and I would imagine you can attest to this just because, you've come what feels like so far and along in the world of art. And I view a lot of these things for myself as like, let's say a car breaks down or whatever, as like practice.
Yes.
Because like as this thing gets bigger, the stakes get higher and those mishaps, or I kind of like using a term like it feels like God's just throwing like a little pebble at you. It doesn't feel like you're getting stopped and really, really taken down, but just kind of like, you sure you want to go this way?
But I think everything feels like a rock at proportion of where you are.
Totally.
It's that rock being thrown at you.
Yeah.
And it's true. I mean, even this far down into a creative journey, it never ends. But I think that's what I always go back to is what's helped me is increasing my capacity for chaos.
Awesome.
Really.
Yeah.
And knowing that no one's going to die,
Totally.
Pray to God that they don't.
Yeah.
And no one's going to get hurt. And it's actually an amazing moment that I've been given to learn right now. And I'm going to apply this later on. Because now when some rocks are thrown, you're like, it's like, that's actually a pebble.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Because I've experienced what it feels like to have the proportion of a boulder thrown.
Yeah. And it's like, and again, I just, in so many ways, I kind of view it as practice because, you know, and it's all relative, right? Where it's like you might have some, you know, maybe it's like, I don't know, a financial hit that like 15 years ago might have like wiped you out, right? But now it could be something where it's like, yes, that's like, we're not stoked we lost that money.
Yeah.
But it's all good. But it's easy to freak out like, oh my God, I can't believe we lost this. And you're like, dude, like, family's fine, the kids are fine, I'm still here. You know, like, there's still paint, you know what I mean? There's still notes of music, you know? And it's like, I think that's, for me, that's the practice where it's just like, this thing's going to grow and get bigger and bigger. And the wins and the W's and the L's are going to feel bigger. But I think if you get too swept up in these really high highs, really low lows, it's just going to eat you alive versus like stay the course.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, I would go on a limb and say you have a pretty like distinct style. And I would define that as maybe you just like have leaned into who you are. And whether that's now or, you know, wherever you are on your journey. But can you remember, or was there a time where you're like, I'm just going to fucking be me. I'm not going to try to be this musician or I'm like,
totally.
This is what it means to be an artist. Like, do you remember having a moment like that, or is that something that just evolved?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of evolved. But there was it's so funny because it feels like there was a lot of trial and error. And maybe in a random way, like, for a while in my like real early 20s, I must have gone through like 7 different hairstyles. You know what I mean?
Me too. Like, no, actually, no, just one.
I tried out, you know, whether it was cuts and using like pomades and all these different things, and more power to anybody who wants to do it. But just like, as soon as I was like, man, fuck it, just like, and I just let it grow and be, it's been all good, you know? And it's just like, and I think it's a representation of myself too, where I'm like, I don't really consider myself a high maintenance individual. And so it makes sense that I don't want to wake up 15 minutes early to like do my hair, which again, like anybody who does it, more power to you. That's wonderful.
Likewise,
express yourself.
More power to you if you want to wake up and do your hair.
You know, and it's like, I'm just, you know, in a funny way, I just feel like that's a little bit of a representation of me. And also for a long time on a musical level, you know, like I'm a little late to the game as being an artist, you know, at the forefront. Like I was trying to produce other people's projects and develop them for a long time, which was really fun. But there were multiple artists, you know, who are like, a lot of them are still homies and I love them to death. But like it felt as if there were times that I was maybe working harder on their project than they were, which is okay. But like, it just can't be the way, if it's going to work, it can't be that way. You know, like the artist has to be the driving force. There's no way around it. It has to be that way.
So you were learning that by watching.
I was learning that by doing.
Like, but you were working on it. They should have been that. And you're like, if this was my project, I would be directing and like making sure that everyone's on task. Yeah,
or just like, you know, whether it was the back end work on production and writing things and, you know, like all of the above. And then there was a moment where I made this song and I remember like playing it back through my speakers and I was, I think like 25 at the time. And I remember playing it back through the speakers and for the first time having like a feeling of like, not that burp. For the first time, having a feeling like, oh, that sounds like me, and I have believed it, you know. And it's a song called "Arms," which was the first song I ever put out. But yeah, like to be 25, put first song out at 26 is a little late in the game as far as musicians go, usually, which is all good. That don't shake me. But it's just kind of funny how it all unfolds.
And that's the crazy thing, like talking about being an artist and taking the control of your journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's even like having to learn things that have nothing to do with your original discipline.
Absolutely.
Like becoming disciplined in areas that, like having to figure out cameras and sound. Like I
Totally.
like to paint, but I had to figure out sound.
Yeah.
Early on, I was into like these dance groups growing up. So I was in hip hop dance groups, and I would be the person that would have to make the mixes. I didn't know how to make them at the time, but I figured it out.
Yeah.
Not knowing that eventually when I was going to turn 20 years old and start performing paintings, that I would need to make mixes for these shows. Mm-hmm. So it was like these skill sets sort of like folded into the next.
I taught vocal lessons for like 6-7 years without really realizing that I wanted to be a lead singer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel you, and it's just like, you don't totally know the thing that it's like, it's this weird thing where I feel like it feels like the universe like pulls you forward into the light that maybe you're supposed to be in.
Yeah.
And part of it also is care, right? Like you care so much about your art, your paintings, and all these things, and you understand, and you believe in them, and you're like, these are wonderful, and I love them so much, and I want to share them with so many people, and you understand maybe that, like, yes, you can just sit in here and paint and not share it with anybody until someone just, like, comes over and buys one, or you give one to someone. But part of the caring, I think, also is, like, doing the work to show it to other people and get it out. It's like making art and getting people to experience your art are two separate things.
Yeah. Because then you're testing, am I achieving my purpose? Am I achieving my goal of this particular piece? Mm-hmm. Are they reacting to it the way that I intended them to? Mm-hmm. Which is really, that's what art is. Art is like you're giving purpose to a thing, and it's supposed to evoke some sort of emotion out of someone. Yeah. That could be the banana taped on the wall. Yeah. Or it could be this music that you produce for hours or days on end. Yeah. Did it achieve its intended purpose? Yeah. And I think when you take that step, it really removes the ego from it. Yeah. And says, okay, whatever results I get from this, I'm gonna just gonna adjust it and make it better on the next. Mm-hmm. And that truly is like an art journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being able to do it in real time. And in some ways, kind of, I don't know. I made this metaphor a while ago where it's like, it's applicable to art, but I made it, just more specifically with music, where it's like making music in so many ways is like making babies is fun. It's a good time. You know what I mean? Who doesn't like doing that? Putting out music, putting out your records, promoting them, getting them to people is like raising your kids. And nobody really wants to do that. You know what I mean? I mean, like, you do, of course, you care about your kids. But, like, it's way easier to just do the first part, And, but if you believe in this thing, this song, this record, this child, you want it to do well in the world. And you don't have control over that. But you can do your best to, like, set up and guide. And it's like, if you're lucky enough to, let's say, have a marketing budget, that's like, cool. Like, I got a little college fund for the kid if he wants to go to college. I don't know if that makes sense. But
it completely does, because I have kids.
Cool.
And I love them. And, it's also work raising them.
Absolutely.
Because I guess how you would view that metaphor is like, can't people just appreciate the song? Can't it just go on and, it's easy to make? Yeah. It should be easy to appreciate. Yeah. Same thing with the kids. Like, can't you just grow up and figure things out? It's like, no. That is not their responsibility. Yeah. It's our responsibility to position it so that it can get the most impact out of life and experience.
For sure.
Which is that process of music or art. And I think that metaphor is spot on.
Cool.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said that you feel like you started late. I don't think that there's ever a late time to start.
I agree. Yeah.
But being that when you started, now streaming is just is everything. You know, if it's not even about record sales, and I would say maybe ticket sales be the next closest thing to that. But does it ever feel overwhelming? You know, that there's so much music to consume, and then now you're adding to it. Does it ever feel overwhelming? And if it does, how do you overcome that?
It doesn't feel overwhelming. And I think the reason being is perspective and understanding. I understand that 60,000 songs a day get uploaded to Spotify. So if I don't feel like a song has enough plays as it should, which that's a made up metric that doesn't make sense, you know?
I agree.
But like, I can't fully blame one thing. And I just also like, I have faith in the process, and I have faith in allowing things to take their time and take shape as they do. And I think that the wins along, like if you're really here and you're about it, and you're showing up every day, show up every day to the thing you believe and love for 10 years, and you will be blown away by the outcome, you know? Yeah. And so it doesn't feel overwhelming just because like, this is what I want to do. This is it. Like, and it's so much harder to try to like fight what the world and society already is instead of like going along with it. And I don't mean conform, but just like that is separate than your mission in a way. You know what I mean? Like you just keep on going, and it keeps growing and getting better, and it won't always feel like just a straight vertical up line. Diagonal.
It's squiggly.
It's squiggly.
It is very squiggly going up and up. Yeah,
and I think it's more of that, you know. It's just perspective and understanding. Yeah, I don't feel overwhelmed.
Yeah. No, I think it's important because most people, and you know, a lot of people that listen to these podcasts are young creatives.
Totally.
They're like in this beginning of the journey. They're and it can feel very overwhelming, especially with having to now do social media and you know, document the journey. And so, you know, not only do you start comparing yourself to the artists and their success of that, or even just the output, now you're comparing to something that is really like a fabricated world of social media. And it's impossible to keep up with that unless you're a big media company.
Yeah, and I think, you know, again, it comes down to me to like go back to one of the things we were talking about earlier. Like, I don't believe, like, people get upset. I saw a video recently, that it was somebody saying like, I'm so tired of making all these social media posts. I just want to make music. And I completely understand what they mean. However, if you want to just make music, just make music. I think and again, no shade towards this person who made this video. It's all love. And I don't know them personally, just something that popped up on my For You page.
Sometimes, but I see where you're going with this.
Where it's like, you are deciding you would like to make this a professional career. You don't want to just make music. You want to make music and for it to be quote unquote successful by probably, like, everybody's got a little bit of a different idea of that, but like in terms of a professional success, you probably want to be able to, in some way or form, make a living and eat off of your music, art, whether that comes through ticket sales and tours or record sales and streams or however. And I think it's that part that you're fighting, going like, why do I have to do all these other things to make this thing work? And I think that's a different conversation, you know? And for me, it comes back to really just like care and love, as funny as that sounds. Like, I really believe, and especially this batch of music I have that isn't released yet, I really believe in it, and I really care about it, and I love it. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking fight for people to hear it. Like, it's just, and it doesn't feel like a fight, but it feel like I'm pushing it. Yeah, I can't, like, yeah, this song is fucking awesome. Like, it's so I'm not going to just post about it once on Instagram and
Yeah.
like leave like, no, that's crazy. What? No, I made this. I really care about this thing that I made, you know?
Yeah. No, I
yeah.
agree. You know, coming from I started in 2003. No social media at that time. It was literally I would have to cold call
Yeah.
galleries. I had to cold call event planners that were booking me
Yeah.
for shows.
Yeah.
And then eventually when social media came in, I was on it.
Yeah.
But I when I get frustrated, I look back at that time and I just remind myself, how fucking lucky are we right now to have these vehicles to get our message out to the world
Yeah.
all throughout the day.
Yeah.
You know, fighting with the algorithm or not,
Yeah.
it's so much better.
Totally. And, you know, if you in 2003, if we took that David and moved him to 2022, and it was like, oh, I can just post videos of me painting every day, and the event planners will call me, and it maybe won't happen on the first video, might not happen on the 10th video, might not happen on the 100th video.
Yeah.
But like, you do that, you have an iPhone, probably, so you have a camera always, like, that, the wins will come to you. And I think there's this weird, I was thinking about this last night, this is going to be a little bit of like some weird hippie philosophy thing, but in so many ways, I feel as if the internet is a little more akin to nature than we think it is, because there's this process of like just being a part of it and putting things out and allowing things to sort of rise and fall as they come. You know what I mean? Like, and I think nature's like that, whether it's like the fruit that falls from a tree, you know, and it's like every year a bunch of squirrels don't just go to the same tree and wait for like the nuts to drop off that one because that's the good tree. It's like, no, they see the nuts. You know what I mean? So it's like you keep throwing out nuts, and I think people are going to come. That's a weird metaphor. I'm making this up on the spot. Keep nutting.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Yeah.
That just came natural.
Come on.
No, I agree. It's like at some point you're gonna have to be consistent at what you do, and even if you experience success, guess what? There's even more of a demand for you to be consistent. So it's more so like develop the habits with the tools you have.
Yeah.
Because at some point that will lead to success.
Yeah.
And then guess what you have to be doing all the time is creating or doing these things at an even larger scale.
You gotta practice to a point of like prolificism, you know what I mean? And just being able to like create, and you know, and I think part of that too is being honest about like if there's a period where you just feel quote unquote stuck, or you feel like nothing that I'm making just feels right. Be honest about that too. That's part of the process in itself, you know?
Yeah.
And if you get to a point where you need to step away for however long, or you've built out this platform or not, and you need to like step away for a few months and like, and you know, reassess and reconvene and kind of get back in touch with you in a different way, cool, do that. Be honest, you know what I mean? It does, like, if it feels like you're just grinding, it just feels like factory output, it's probably not that great of art. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Do you have this like ultimate artist vision ahead of you right now? I mean, I don't even know how old you are. It doesn't even matter, because the world we live in, there's no limits on this.
Totally.
But do you like feel what your journey could be like ahead?
I do feel it. I don't know if I can really put it into words very well. Yeah, I don't know. It just feels right.
So there was a TikTok I saw of yours.
Okay.
And it was a collaboration with another girl who had wrote a song.
Ellie.
And was it Elliot?
Ellie Dewey.
Ellie Dewey. And so she had left a part that was, you know, blank for people to duet with it, which I think is the most genius thing of
it's so fun.
Any artist, musician to do is create duets and let people duet with it.
Yeah.
And then I heard your version, and I was like, I knew your music before, but I don't know if you could explain this, but that particular clip had so much power behind it. And it's like, the best way I could describe it for those of you watching or listening is it was like, I'm into like crescendos.
Oh, cool. And
so that, you know, my paintings are like a big visual crescendo.
I've never thought about it like that. Makes sense.
It's just like, it starts off like ding, 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 like every brush stroke.
That's cool.
And then you bring in the strings of like color, and then eventually that big handprint is like the projected
That's cool.
voice or all of those instruments at once.
The wall of sound. The wall
so
of color.
in a moment when you're doing that TikTok duet, is that something where you're like, I'm going to give this everything I have, even though people might not see it as something purposeful, or are you like, let me just get through this because this is part of the thing? But like, what was that like? Because I'm gonna find the clip and reshare it. But I was like, that's Jon Wiilde.
Thanks.
Like that voice where that's going, and I don't know if you picked up on that, but
I mean,
that was a special one.
For me, it was just like, this seems like a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna like, oh, cool. I like this song. I like her as an artist. I'm gonna just make this thing. And like I just wrote it and recorded it, And I think for me, it's a part of the practice of like showing up every day. I feel as if over the last couple of years, I've made a lot of music, and like a lot of music that is like finished, good to go, put a bow on it, send it out. You know what I mean? And it's just a little bit a matter of timing and strategy in that sense to actually release it. But over this, what feels like an evolution over the last couple of years, it's just, I feel more confident and more in tune with my voice and my writing and what I'm saying. And that to me, it's just, and I appreciate all the kind words of you saying of the performance, but it's a product of showing up every day to me. You know what I mean? And I think that the more I just feed that and keep showing up, it just keeps getting stronger and stronger and better. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah. No, you nailed it. I mean, that's why we do this. That's why we do this podcast and this is why we do things that like, there's not really like any immediate net benefit, like for the moment, but it's like showing up, trying some new things, learning from these conversations and just finding ways throughout your day to just take a little creative risk.
For sure.
And to you in the moment, it may just seem like, oh, I'm just gonna do this.
Yeah.
But really like how I would do a live stream here, it's years of momentum that builds up. And it's really, I think those are the moments that become magic.
Yeah.
So for example, this super viral TikTok that I have that has like almost 100 million views on there.
Crazy.
It's like I posted that at like 9 o'clock at night, and it was so random, and it was a video that I had done years before.
Awesome.
So I was like,
She's like, I'm just throwing up a clip.
But I had built up, but for like months,
yeah,
I was posting 2-3 times a day. It's habit.
Yeah.
And then eventually, like, there's one that just connects, and you don't know why. I still don't understand why.
That happened. Yeah, in a smaller scale, that happened to me recently. With this video of me singing in the bathtub. I sing in the bathtub a lot. And I was just like, I'm just, same thing. I'm like, I post every day.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like about 6 o'clock. I haven't posted yet. Throw this one up. And then over the course of the next few days, it started like taking off a little bit. And, got somewhere, like just, you know how it is. Like all of a sudden, it's just like you check your phone and it's just like, what happened? Yeah. And you're like, cool, thanks. All right. And then you just like keep it moving. And it's like the tricky part is, and again, in some ways too, I view things like this also as practice because like, a video went, a little viral for me. Great. I can't expect the next one to do the same thing. You know what I mean?
That's the reality.
Yeah.
But guess what? You still show up. And it can't discourage or knock you off your mission.
Yeah.
If it's your mission for the month or your mission for your ultimate artistic journey, you just got to stay on it.
Yeah. And it's like, if it happens again, cool. I don't really care. Like I'm here for like, of course that's great. And it like helps.
Yeah.
But, like however it shows itself, it's all good.
So I'm curious. I want to make sure we get this in before our time's up. But you brought your guitar?
I did. Yes.
And do you want to?
Would love to.
You want to bring it out
Yeah.
and just like, I don't know what you had in mind, but
Are we able to take a quick 2 minutes so I can go pee?
Of course, we're going to cut and then
Awesome.
we're going to come back and I want to get into the guitar.
Sounds great.
All right.
Cool.
All right. You've got the acoustic guitar.
I do.
I asked you earlier, is the acoustic guitar like a sketchbook?
Yes. It's in so many, if it feels good on an acoustic, it feels pretty much good everywhere, you know? And I think it's just a good vehicle for songs. And then getting a song to be a record is kind of a different process sometimes. But if it feels good.
I think you just raise the bar to how we're going to end every Paint Method episode. I'm going to challenge every guest to bring an instrument. I'm like, bring your flute.
Bring a kazoo.
Bring your drum box.
I'm about
But
it.
I'm going to challenge you to create music.
I love it.
To close it out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How's that? Awesome. Cool. Yeah, this song is called Beach, and it's out today. Nothing I can do. I think about you way too much. I wanna hold your hand. I wanna get lost in the rain with you. I like it when you speak. You don't use way too many words like everybody else. You just feel so complete. Now if God made make believe, I bet you and me would just end up somewhere on the beach. Now if God made make believe, I bet you and me would just end up somewhere on the beach. Yeah. Come on. It's something about your hair, man, it's just so damn long. I wanna feel you there. Yeah, I like it when we're alone, and don't you know that I just wanna lay you down, baby. Just know, don't you know that I just like it when you're around. Come on now, if God made make believe, I bet you and me would just end up somewhere on the beach. Now if God made make believe, I bet you and me would just end up somewhere on the beach. Yeah. On the beach, yeah. On the beach, yeah. On the beach. And if God made make believe, I bet you and me would just end up somewhere on the, come on, yeah. Now come on, now if God made make believe, I bet you and me would end up somewhere on the beach, yeah, on the beach, baby. End up somewhere on the beach, baby. Come on, yeah, yeah, on the beach. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. On the beach. There we go.
Oh man, beautiful.
Thanks, man.
Beautiful.
Thanks, man.
I know you have a gift, but it feels like just there's so much texture, emotion, everything that makes great art. It's an honor to have you here on the Paint Method.
To be here, man.
I appreciate you, man, and congrats. New single Beach drop, the video, the song, and then there's more to come, right? At some point.
There's a lot. this feels like just the start.
Yeah.
Feels like we're just getting started,
I agree.
Can't wait to get more records out. Can't wait to come back here. It's, I'm
Yes.
sure, a few months, a year,
I
something.
feel like we need like an audience next
Let's
time.
go. That
We got to
sounds like
do
a great time.
something. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'm painting or if it's just you, but we'll figure it out.
We'll do it. Shit, maybe I'll jam, you paint. You know what I mean?
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out,
brother.
Cool, my man.
So good.
We're just far enough. Yep.
Yes.
Much love. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, man.
Thank you guys.
Peace out.